Hey guys, Sean here. Today, Luke and I will be talking about our ban list predictions for the April 2024 ban list, which we assume is coming in April because that would make sense. So let's get right into it.
Alright, we're going to start off with the bans right now. You want to talk about the possibility of Linkuriboh maybe getting hit.
Okay, Linkuriboh was a funny card because it's a Link 1. We know how Konami feels about Link 1s. Link 1s have been one of the biggest mistakes in Yu-Gi-Oh! But Linkuriboh was always just, it wasn't good. But in Snake Eyes, it's really pivotal to their combos. So I feel like they just might get rid of it. And it makes me very sad because Linkuriboh is just awesome. They shouldn't ban a Kuriboh card. But I genuinely think it's something they might do. They really have been cracking down on Link 1s, no matter how good or bad they are. As we see with Dryas, it's like, obviously it's a good card in the deck, but like, I don't think it's that good to be banned or to be put at 1. But they did it anyway, so I feel like they're very strict with Link 1s. I feel like they've realized their mistake. So it's not a direct hit to Snake Eye, so that's why I think they might actually do it. But it's something, it's possible, but fingers crossed they don't do it.
Sweating and Sky Striker.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Beatrice real quick. Beatrice is absolutely crazy. The fact that it's a generic rank 6, but what makes it kind of like a target for the ban list right now is because of a card called Transaction Rollback, which is just really, really good. There's some combos you can do with Beatrice and Transaction Rollback where you dump it to the graveyard along with on your opponent's turn dumping another Mayakashi card, I believe it is, in order to just completely stop your opponent from summoning altogether, which is just absolutely crazy. There's a few other reasons why Beatrice should have probably gotten a hit, but the fact that it's limited now, been limited for a long time, just this might kind of push it over the edge in order for it to actually be banned. So that's another possibility that I think Beatrice might get hit on the chopping block.
It would be a shame, but I could definitely see it happening. It's very exploitable, that's the thing. It's just like, dump any card. There's been a lot of cards in the game that have been limited or banned because they can just dump any card. Okay, Gimmick Puppet is kind of Branded's bread and butter, right? Like, it's just the main thing Branded players go to. Branded is still a good deck, obviously, on its own, but with the Gimmick Puppet lock, it really just gives you like a free win if you're up against the right matchup, If you're on game 1, you might not do it, but game 2 and 3, if your opponent's playing a deck that can't out it, you pretty much win the duel. And it's so easy to set up. Will they get rid of Gimmick Puppet Nightmare? Probably not, since there's new Gimmick Puppet support coming out. Will they get rid of the fusion monster that lets you summon him? Maybe. I could see it happening. It's not like, I think it came out last year, so it's old enough that they could ban it. What really sucks is that I do like the idea of Branded where you can bring back like stuff out to your opponent's field and then like fuse using their monsters and stuff like that. It's a really cool concept and idea, but it did get Branded Expulsion banned because you could just do the same thing, your Gimmick Puppet lock. So the idea is really cool, but it gets exploited, and that's kind of like a Yu-Gi-Oh issue. There's just too many cards that lock you into certain things, and summoning to your opponent's side of the field is a really broken mechanic. So yeah, I do think that one of those two cards is getting hit, most likely the Branded Fusion monster.
I want to talk about Zelantis real quick. I think Zelantis might actually get hit with a ban, just the fact that it's kind of generic now, and the fact that so many decks are able to easily build up to a Link 4 and then go straight to Zelantis, I think is absolutely crazy. Zelantis has seen some play in a few decks, most notably in a budget deck like Marincess, but even some people run it in their Snake Eyes builds as well. It's just really, really good and a bit generic as well, and the fact it's able to kind of like really wipe out boards and actually be game changing right there on the spot. I think that's probably one thing that they'll do to kind of try and hit Snake Eyes, but not a direct hit. I really want Snake Eyes to be hit, but I don't see it having like a really, really long impacting like direct hit. So some of the outer cards like Zelantis, I feel like might get hit, I'd say. So Zelantis, I think, might go for the ban.
Next up, for a hand trap that everyone loves, Dimension Shifter. So we all know what Dimension Shifter does. Banishes everything. Any card sent to the graveyard is banished. As a hand trap, you can just activate it going first or second, and your opponent just basically can't play the game. Very few decks can play around it. The decks that can play it and use it are the best like anti-meta decks. So stuff like Fonderies and even decks that can just like play decently through it, they get so much advantage from it because it is the ultimate counter to decks like Snake Eye. If you draw it, your only out is really called by. We can't use Gamma anymore because it's that 1. So yeah, your only out is like 1 card in your 40 card deck. So the likelihood that you draw a Dimension Shifter and your opponent draws a call by, not very likely that they draw a call by, but more likely that you draw the Shifter. So yeah, everyone's hated this card basically since it came out. It's a tough one because some people might see it as the only way to counter Snake Eye. So hopefully, if they ban Shifter, they also hit Snake Eyes enough to where it's not a necessity that you need Shifter.
Yeah, we saw a lot of banishing cards come back off the ban list, like even Dimensional Fissure, and I think Macrocosmos kind of came off when Tear was a big thing. But now that Tear is no longer a problem, these banishing cards kind of pose as the problem that was kind of like swearing to destroy. So there is a good chance that they could get rid of some of the banishing cards. D-Shifter is kind of like the poster boy of like banishing decks, so it's kind of like a possibility. Also, another deck that's on the rise is yugioh, and yugioh runs Shifter in pretty much most builds that I've seen because it could just play around really well. And to kind of stop yugioh from like just completely taking over Snake Eyes is a possibility they can use Shifter in as well. So Shifter is definitely a possibility. I'm not too sure if it will get like banned per se. I could see it getting limited maybe, but it'll be interesting to see. Plus, with the new Rarity Collection 2, they're actually reprinting some of the Tear cards. So in order to encourage people to play Tear Elements again, they might get rid of some of those pesky banishing cards. So it is a possibility.
So for the final card we think is going to get banned is Super Poly. Now, Super Poly is one of those cards that everyone keeps thinking, whenever it's good, everyone keeps thinking that it's going to get banned. This card has not been hit in like the last 5 years or so. I could see it getting hit, but at the same time, it's escaped like a lot worse scenarios. It's been more powerful in other formats. I don't see it as the most broken board breaker. It's like good, obviously, like it's a very good card.
I keep going back and forth in my head about banning it or putting it to 1. I think if they will do anything, they might put it to 1, because again, just think about yugioh. Yugioh has Eternal Favor, a trap card that basically super polys. So maybe they might just be thinking about they don't want to get yugioh to get too powerful. They might neuter it in some sense with an indirect hit like Super Poly. I can see it getting limited to 1 or banned altogether.
One good point about yugioh is that they have a new card that searches specifically Super Poly. So if they were to outright ban it, that would be very dumb. They print a new card that specifically lists Super Poly and then they ban it. So I guess at 1 would make more sense that way.
Okay, the limits. One thing I really want to see happen is just hit Fenrir and put it to 1. I just really don't like Fenrir. I think cards that search the same copy of that card is just absolute horrible idea. I agree with Engage shouldn't search Engage, because it doesn't. That would be absolutely broken. Fenrir should not search Fenrir. The fact that it can, you just see it in almost every deck now, that there's 3 copies of Fenrir, just for an added like boost of a big 2700 boss monster that's able to like banish a card. I think Fenrir is just so annoying to see, no matter what the deck is. So if they limit it, it will kind of discourage people from just throwing in a random 3 copies of Fenrir into any deck. Even like some rogue decks like Crystal Beast, I just hate seeing Fenrir in there at 3 just for the sole purpose of searching itself. I just really don't like that. I think Fenrir should be limited altogether.
So one card that I think might get limited is Branded Fusion. Now, if you have seen Master Duel or the OCG, that card's been at 1 for a long time. The thing is though, the context of those games is where Max C is the best card in the game and Branded Fusion is a very good like trade into Max C. You can summon twice to end on a Mirror Jade and you can like set up your graveyard with a bunch of stuff. So it's a very good card and a good deck to play through Max C. That's the main reason why it's at 1 in OCG and Master Duel. I don't think the card is good enough to be hit in the TCG. It's a great deck, it's definitely in the top 5 decks of the format right now, and it's always been relevant, but I feel like hitting Branded Fusion just kills the deck. It at least kills the spirit of the deck, because obviously you can still play with 1 Branded Fusion, but it just nerfs it so much to where, what's really the point in playing it? It's such a cool deck, I don't think it's really toxic. I think the only issue with Branded is the Gimmick Puppet Lock. If you get rid of that, I think it's a decently fair deck. So I could see them putting it to 1 just because of the other games, but hopefully it doesn't get hit to 1.
Pot of Prosperity was reprinted in the Rarity Collection, so it's a really good generic card that everyone can get their hand on now. I think Prosperity is a really good card, and the fact that it was reprinted to death in the Rarity Collection, that pretty much everyone can get it, I think is very fair and very balanced. I really see them like limiting it to 1. Just randomly, because you know what we've seen with Pot of Desires, just randomly like a few lists ago, it is randomly like semi-limited, and then they slowly got it back up to be unlimited now. I think Prosperity might be the same route, just because every deck can play it. Konami mightn't really like that. it's just a possibility. It's a very generic draw card, and it's a very powerful one at that, so it could be on the chopping block to be limited to 1.
Another card I can see coming off the ban list is Kit Kolos. So tier is dead, that's just a fact. It's been hit so badly that it's just unplayable at this point. So I feel like now we can finally bring back Kit Kolos, because a mill 5 in a deck that has 1 copy of each tier name and no Shizu cards, I don't think is too bad. I really do wish that like tier was good again, because I feel like when tier was at its like power level like a few formats ago, it didn't feel too bad, you know? I felt like a good deck, but it didn't feel as unfair as like the tier 0 version of tier. So I really want it to come back. Do I think it's going to happen? Not really, but it would be great for that to come back, because right now in the game it's not really, it wouldn't cause any issues with the current ban list. And as Luke mentioned before, the new Rarity Collection is going to be reprinting a bunch of tier cards, so it would be wise to unban it to get people kind of hyped to play tier again.
The Dragon Rulers, so they've been slowly coming off. The last person on the list is Tidal, of course the water one. Tidal's not too broken. Pretty much any water deck can play it, but all it really does is Foolish Burial cards. But if you're playing Tidal in a deck that requires Foolish Burial, you're better off just playing Foolish Burial. Tidal, I think they'll limit to 1. I really think at this point of the game, they can probably bring back all the Dragon Rulers, and it wouldn't really make too much of a difference. The Dragon Rulers are great, don't get me wrong, but just compared to like how crazy the likes of Snake Eyes are, I think a full power Dragon Ruler build wouldn't even like make a dent in them whatsoever. So I definitely see them bringing back Tidal to maybe 1, and maybe some of the other rulers to be the semi-limited or maybe unlimited at this stage. But yeah, definitely Tidal at 1 at least, but the Dragon Rulers are definitely making a comeback. One of the last limits I want to talk about is probably Snake Eye Ash. So the reason for this is that they're not going to hit any of the Snake Eye cards that came out recently. They're not going to hit your Popular, they're not going to hit your Bonfire, they're not going to hit any of the like really big modern ones, because they still want to sell the sets. Snake Eye Ash could be a possibility though for it to be limited, because it was released in Age of Overlord, and also the fact that it was a super rare and not one of the more expensive cards is a way that they can kind of like try and be fair to neuter the Snake Eye deck consistency a little bit without banning one of the like really expensive cards as well. It'll be a decent hit, I'd say, but my only sympathy goes out to the people who are playing like a Fire King Snake Eye deck that is more budget friendly, that needs the 3 copies of Ash, not being able to compete at all with the pure Snake Eye builds. So Snake Eye Ash I think is definitely a possibility. If Konami's going to hit anything directly on Snake Eyes, it will probably be the Ash. So I think that to 1 is a good possibility.
Even if they did put Ash to 1, the thing is, you can recycle it using your original Snake Eye. You can also, if it gets banished, you can bring it back using Oak. So it doesn't really feel like it's that bad. It's not even like your main starter anymore. Obviously it's a great starter, but with Popular and all that, you have plenty of combos even if you don't have Ash. It does hit the consistency, which is what Konami loves to do. So I could see it getting hit to 1. But even if it does get hit to 1, I don't think it will make too much of a difference. I still think Snake Eye will be the best deck in the game. Well, okay, in that case, I think Snake Eye Fire King will be the best deck, and then Snake Eyes Pure will be the second best deck. Finally, Konami, bring back Heavy Metal Foes Electromite. Please, Pendulums are a bad deck. They haven't been good in years. Bring it back. Even on Master Duel where it's in the game, it's not good. So just bring it back, please. For all the 2 Pendulum players out there. Alright, for the semi-limited list, we think there might be 1 card, Gamma. So, Gamma was at 3, it was pretty cool. Then they put it to 1, it's unplayable. In Master Duel it's at 2, and enough decks play it to where I think at 2, it's fine. It's unplayable at 1, it was fantastic at 3, but at 2 is fine. Like, I'll take the 2. Konami, please.
Okay, cards that could come back. I really want to advocate Sky Striker Mobilize Engage, because this card I think should come back. Few reasons being, Droll and Lockbird is a massive hand trap everyone's playing in this format, so Sky Strikers can really die to Droll. So there is a possibility that Engage is not too broken right now in order for them to bring it back. Also, we're getting another Battles of Legend coming out in June that has new Sky Striker cards that are being imported from the OCG's manga, which is just going to be a whole new load of Sky Striker monsters that I think will get people intrigued in the deck. And having Engage coming back to 3, I think people would definitely be more interested as well. And it will encourage people to buy the set as well. So it's definitely, I think it's a win-win all around. All you Sky Striker haters out there, just chill, alright? Engage is not going to be a problem. Bring us back to toss format. Salamangreat's got Gazelle back, they're at full power, they're doing great. Not being broken, but still being a cool, consistent rogue deck. I think Sky Strikers do the same if you bring back Engage, so I definitely would be very excited to see this come off the list altogether and hopefully be unlimited.
Speaking of toss format, bring back Thunder Dragon Colossus. Now, it's a droll on legs, it's a great card, but Thunder Dragons haven't done anything in a long time. I don't think it's like an unfair card necessarily. It's a floodgate card, obviously. It's fairly easy to get out in Thunder decks, but Thunder decks are bad. I feel like there are worse monsters in the game. There are so many worse monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Than Thunder Dragon Colossus. And it makes Thunder Dragons playable again, and I feel like that's a really cool deck. Even if it's, you know, a floodgate, just imperm it, guys, easy. I think it's something that could come back. We just have to have toss format too, you know, that's what we want.
Okay, spirals. So, we recently got a spiral card off the ban list. I forget the name of it now, it doesn't really matter, but the only, like, really big spiral card that's still on the ban list is Master Plan. And I feel like if they're going to bring back anything, they might bring back Master Plan and maybe limit it to 1. Just because Spiral in Master Duel, although it's a fairly competent deck, it isn't really doing anything too groundbreaking. It's sort of a cool, fun deck that people just like to play. Sure, it can be a bit toxic. I don't think it will make too much of a difference in TCG if you bring it back. I know Konami likes to randomly bring back some random decks that some people just have fond memories of. So I think Spiral, maybe Master Plan might come back. I don't really know. I think Spiral definitely has a place in today's metagame. So I think Spiral Master Plan might come back, be at 1, if they're going to reintroduce it to the game.
So recently in Master Duel, a lot of Zodiac cards came off the list. And Zodiac, everyone was like, oh, Zodiac's going to be so good now. Zodiac is okay. Zodiac is fine. So for TCG, I feel like if they brought back Zodiac Barrage and then Zodiac Trident, it would be pretty okay. It would be cool to play those decks again. I feel like you could play a little Zodiac package in a lot of decks. So I really think they could come back because Zodiac, it was such a scary like idea back in like 2020. I know it was tier 0 at one point, but like it's been a long time. It's been so long. A lot of these cards are just not going to make a difference. It will just give like certain decks a little bit of a boost. And I feel like it's fine at this point, you know? It's not going to break the game. And if it just ban it again, go for a hat trick, you know, 3 times getting banned, that'd be awesome.
Cards I really want to come back is Meow Meow Mew. I think Meow Meow Mew probably can come back. I mean, it was really banned not because of Prank Kids itself, because it was a Link 1 rock and Adamantispators couldn't take advantage of it. But Block Dragon is banned in the TCG, so I think bringing back Meow Meow Mew should really be no problem. I'd be really excited to play Prank Kids again. I really don't think Prank Kids would be like too much of a broken deck. It would be kind of like a fun rogue deck, I'd say. It definitely deserves to be reintroduced. I think it got hit way too soon. So bringing back Meow Meow Mew to 1, I think would be absolutely fine. You can even see Meow Meow Mew is at least 2 in Master Duel, and it's not really causing up too much of a ruckus there. So I think bringing it back into TCG be no problem at all. So Meow Meow Mew to 1, I think at least just somehow reintroduced into the game, I think it'll be really, really good.
And finally, let's just like round it out with Ancient Fairy Dragon. It's at 1, didn't do anything because the errata kind of killed it. It's a good card, it's like fine in certain decks, but it can come to 3 like no problem. Even like you wouldn't really play more than 1, but it can come to 3. There is no issue here with Ancient Fairy Dragon. So those were our predictions for the April 2024 ban list. So let us know what you think in the comments. If you agree or disagree, let us know. If you have any crazy like predictions for what might get hit on the ban list, let us know. So yeah, check back on this video when the ban list comes out and let us know how much we got right and wrong, because you know, it's going to be 100% like right. Like we work with Konami.
Absolutely.
That's just how it works.
We're plants in this industry.
How do you think I got Ancient Gear support to come out, you know?